Hello everyone. I wanted to take this video and show you guys what sort of tools that I use every day, why I use them, why you should use them, and more importantly, what I learned that's helped me grow while using them. So let's go ahead and look at the first one. The first thing that I have on my list is my custom keyboard that I made. It's a Dactyl Manuform that I 3D printed and hand wired myself. It's very ugly because it was the first time that I ever did anything majorly hardware. It was a great experience for me to learn everything there is to know about keyboards, and it enhanced my hardware knowledge. I got to learn more about the firmware and how the electric pulses work within the system and the keyboard itself. I started using this sort of keyboard and getting into it because I found myself having wrist pain a lot. I do a lot of typing. Even though it's very early in my career, I still have wrist pain sometimes, and I catch myself slumped over a lot, shoulders in like this and hunched over. And so having that really helps me relax and sit back and feel more comfortable. I'm going to recommend it for, again, anyone who's in a similar situation as me, typing a lot, feeling their back or their shoulders start to slump. It's been really nice for me. It works very well for me, and I've seen my typing speed even increase with the way the layout is. It's a very awesome tool that I can say that I made for myself, and plus it was even cheaper than going out and buying myself a new keyboard. The next piece of tooling that I use every day is something a lot of people wouldn't consider a tool, but it's my operating system. I run Arch Linux on my personal laptop, and it's been an awesome experience. I picked up Arch during my operating systems class and a little bit beforehand, just to try to see what Linux can offer me as a developer. A lot of people say, and Arch gets this bad rap, that it's very hard and it's always going to be broken. I can tell you that if you know what you're doing, it's much easier to maintain an Arch distro than it would be any other, especially given the customization that you can have on a system like Arch Linux. And again, the thing that I like about it a lot is I have to know most things about my operating system for it to work. I get to touch nearly everything about it in order to make it my own. And again, Arch gets this bad rap for bad things, especially like in their community. People say that everyone's just mean online, but really it's got the most amount of information that you could need to run a good operating system and always be customizable. I use a combination of Yay and Pacman as my package managers and get those packages on a rolling release. That's something that Arch is really known for, is having their packages always up to date on the bleeding edge. And that's where it gets its bad rap of being hard to maintain. However, again, if you know what you're doing, it's very fun. Now, like I said before, I was touching this a lot during my operating systems class, so it was really interesting to see the parallels between the stuff that I was learning in class and the stuff that I could do on my own operating system. It was very interesting for me to be able to do those same things and configure different things, run different programs. I created some device drivers, stuff like that, and that was really interesting to me, and that made me sort of focus on making Arch what I wanted it to be, while also understanding that it doesn't have to be hard. And those sorts of things are what really drew me into more operating system stuff. While everyone talks about the complexity, it was very fun for me to understand all the nitty-gritty details and be able to control everything that I needed to. So why do I think you should use Arch Linux? It's very customizable. It helps you understand your operating system without just using it willy-nilly. And you can have an immense amount of customization that will fit your needs, whether you're a developer or a personal user of Arch. Switching gears a little bit, I wanted to talk more about the applications that I actually run. There are two main applications that I don't think I could develop without. Now, you may be wondering, how could you even do development with just two main tools? I did cheat a little bit when I said only two tools. You might be wondering about things like, hey, what about Docker or Git, or people use NPM to run things, or Postman, stuff like that. I'll address that as we go. So the first thing that I think is very critical is to have a good terminal. I'm a very terminal-based developer. I do most, if not all, stuff out of the terminal, whether that's editing text, hitting endpoints, or querying databases. So my number one tool would be the terminal. Specifically, I use Kitty alongside of Zish as my terminal emulator and bash of choice. Both of those allow a lot of customizability. And again, going back to what I just talked about in Arch, that's a big thing for developers so that we can have a good experience during our development process and be the best that we can be. Going back to the multiple tools thing, this is where it all sort of ties in. I don't necessarily have a lot of GUI apps running at once, but I would say that I know how to use a lot of tools via the command line. So now we'll go back to only having two main things. I use that terminal as a way to use other tools. So for example, knowing how to use JQ or grep or sed, those sorts of commands are very vital as a developer to understand. And so that's what I'm trying to gear my experience towards, is understanding those command line tools. That is how I do my productive work, and I know how to use my terminal in a good way. So I try to emphasize developing mostly in the terminal. Kitty has a lot of features and a lot of customization. For example, Kitty can send your operating system notifications. It's got automatic text highlighting. It's also got a lot of styling, and when you pair it with Zish, you can get a lot of awesome different styles and make it really feel like a home for you. So between Kitty and Zish and all of those command line tools that I use, I would say that that is a great foundation for a lot of people to use. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a great terminal experience and you want to be efficient within your one window. This experience gives a developer like me and like you a great opportunity to customize everything you need while also maintaining a powerful and feature-rich environment for you to work in. And you don't have to worry about a bunch of different windows and where things are. You can just go to the terminal and get your home sweet home greeting. So my last big tool is the one that you've all been waiting for, and I'm sure if you've seen my other videos, you know what this is going to be. It's Neovim. I really love Neovim. I would take you back to the beginning. I started college off and I was using VS Code just like everyone else would. And I had a professor who was showing some code in class in his IDE, and I noticed he was moving really, really fast. So I went to him later and I was like, hey, how are you doing this? Like, I know you're not pressing the arrow key like really quick. And he's like, it's just Vim motions, bro. And I was like, Vim? Okay, interesting. And so I looked into it. I added the plugin to my VS Code integration, and immediately, as all first users are, very confusing, highly unintuitive when you first start off. As the years went on, I sort of started to realize how much I sort of didn't like VS Code anymore, and I found out about this Neovim thing that was going on, the fork of the original Vim, and it really interests me a lot. I had saw a lot of YouTubers using it and Twitch streamers using it for editing their code, and I was like, oh, this is what the experience is supposed to be. That tied into the terminal really did it for me and really made me push for a good experience in my development environment. There are a lot of ways to do the same thing in Neovim, which does make it a little bit hard to understand and navigate through during your configuration stage. But at the end, once you dial in some of those settings, it's really worth it. Overall, Neovim has a much quicker load time, especially on Linux. It is much lighter than any other editor that I've seen. And for me, it allows a better way to customize things. I can write custom scripts that don't have to go through the VS Code store. I can write scripts that can do things locally for me that wouldn't be possible with VS Code. And of course, Vim motions are awesome. It makes me super efficient. I think the big takeaway from this is Neovim is my personal preference, and I would recommend it to anyone who's looking for a new or better experience with their editor, who's looking to try something new, who's looking to try to be more efficient, because I became way more efficient. However, I will say that I will digress a little bit on the fact that a lot of people know VS Code very well and it's very efficient for them. That's fine. You do whatever you want. I'm going to stick with my editor. You stick with yours. We can live in peace. I just prefer that. My main takeaway and learnings from Neovim is that everyone is different. Everyone likes their own thing, and that's okay. You just need to know your tool very well. And that's the case for me with Neovim, and it might be the case for you with VS Code or IntelliJ. So there you go. Those are the 4 main tools that I use every day in my development. I really, really, really like the applications that I put on my operating system, and then the actual setup of my keyboard all make for a great experience for me. I feel like and believe through growth that I have become a better programmer over time. See that video if you haven't. And I just thought I'd share this with you because it was very helpful for me to sort of reflect on, where I was 4 years ago today as far as development processes and confidence. I have went from a very unconfident, very scared college student to now very prepared, very understanding, and very confident in my abilities. So I really think that those sorts of tooling things and those learnings that I've taken are very important, and I would recommend that you take similar steps if you feel like you're sort of stagnating or you want to change the scenery. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments. I will leave some links in the description to show off some of these different things and some of the developers I've seen use them. Awesome resources, great people, and I hope you check them out. Also, I just released my first alpha version of my programming language / compiler. I'd love if you guys would go check it out. I will drop that in the description as well. Give me feedback. It's in a very, very early stage. The code works. Hopefully, there are some bugs, probably. There's no LSP or formatter or any sort of nice developer tools yet for it, but the language is there, and I'm working on a standard library right now, so feedback would be awesome from you guys. Thank you.